All right. Hey, Jolynn, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Alan. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. It's good to see so many people filing in here from the Sourcepass
Yes,
universe. Another
that's
hot
great.
topic. Yeah, for sure. Boy,
To
talk
me,
talk
this
about
is a
a
very hot topic,
yeah, I'm sure. But talk about something that we would not have really even spoken about a couple years ago.
right?
I mean, it's
It's
such a
amazing.
yeah, such a new world. It really is. I was just Googling some Microsoft Copilot adoption statistics just to kind of see, it's been such a whirlwind with AI here over the past year. And something like 40% of the Fortune 100 have already adopted Copilot, which is kind of
Isn't that,
shocking.
that's crazy?
Yeah,
I
such a
tell
short
you,
amount of time.
I don't know how we survived without it. It's like the days before the microwave. How did we ever cook? It's like,
Right,
you think back on those kind of things and it's like, how did we live without AI?
exactly. And now we got to figure out how we actually use it, right? How we interact with AI.
Exactly. And how to do it the right way. And that's what we're going to be discussing too here today.
Absolutely. So welcome everybody in the SourcePass community. My name is Alan Bauman. I'm here with Jolynn Reen. If you've been on our webinars in the past, we're familiar faces to you at this point. Happy to have such a great crowd here today. I know this is a hot topic for a lot of you, so I'm sure that we're going to get some really interesting information from Jolynn. And I'm going to get out of the way here just in a second. Just a quick couple of housekeeping things. Um, So for those of you who are new here, this is part of our learning series at SourcePass. So we do these webinars once a month at this point. And the idea here is to help you learn how to use the tools that you may already have in a better, more complete, more productive way. It's open to anybody who is a SourcePass client. And what I will extend to you is an invitation to invite your friends, even if they're not SourcePass clients, your friends or our friends. We'd love to have them come to future webinars. We do these once a month. Registration is at sourcepass.com. For those of you who have maybe more of a bigger picture perspective in your organization, we do have a monthly digital transformation series, which talk about kind of different subject matter. Those are also available on our website for registration. We're actually using a new webinar platform today, Joel, I'm kind of excited about this. I know you've
Yes.
used it. I haven't used it before, but this is actually Teams webinar. So this is our first chance to use this. And in Teams webinar, just as in the plain old Teams that you're used to, there's a Q&A button. If you do have questions throughout the webinar, just go ahead and use that Q&A button. I think we've gotten to every question that anybody has asked us in these webinars. If we need to stay late, we will stay late to do that. So please keep that in mind. And as usual, we do have a survey going out after the webinar. If you have a couple minutes, we'd love to get your feedback on how you thought this session was, and very importantly, love to get your thoughts on future sessions. I think we should do a session on Teams webinar and all the different Teams flavors. Jolene, I don't know what you think about that.
That would actually be a great idea.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at the end of the session here, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming sessions that we have, but
Mhm.
I'm going to get out of the way, Jolene, and let you do your thing.
Okay, that sounds great. So thanks for joining us, everyone. I want to get started with really kind of what are we talking about here today? So our topic is working with Copilot, which if you're not familiar with what it is, it's an AI tool that is built into our Microsoft 365. Now, I should clarify that. There is a free version of Copilot that you can just simply use from your internet browser. But the Copilot that we're actually working with today is going to be the one that is built in to Microsoft 365. It is a paid for service, so it isn't the free version. The benefits of having this is the integration that we will have with all of your 365 apps. And you're going to actually see some examples of that here today. So our main topic really is to discuss prompting. Anytime you're using an AI tool where you're going to be talking with the system to get information back, you're actually using a prompt to do that. So what is a prompt? It's a way that we communicate with the system to gather information, whether we're asking it a question, we're having it analyze data, whatever it is that you're having it do, we're prompting it. And if we don't prompt correctly, we're not going to get the result that we're expecting to get out of the system. Now, Copilot is extremely smart, and it does utilize the internet. I'll actually show you how you can turn that on and turn that off, and it should be turned on to fully take advantage of current information. But when it comes to prompting, if we put in something that doesn't match what the program has to have, you're going to get a result back that may not even be accurate. So we want to make sure that we understand good prompts. I'll show you some examples of this is one way to do it, but you have a better choice. The more information you give a prompt, the better the result is going to be. And a lot of times, if you go to your favorite internet browser or you go straight into ChatGPT and ask it about prompting, you're going to find very similar information. So what I'm showing you right now is really kind of a 4-step process when you go to create a prompt. And we'll be seeing different examples in different applications today. I'll be doing examples in the actual app called Copilot. I'll be utilizing Copilot within other programs like Excel, Outlook, Teams, etc. So just so you know, we'll do a few examples so that you can see what you're going to end up getting back out of the system. Now, we will also spend a lot of time today talking about what is built in and the improvements that they've already made to Copilot since its release. There's been improvements, especially the last couple of months. There's been major improvements on prompting because we're not always very good at it. It does take some practice. But the 4 elements of creating a good prompt is going to be what exactly is the goal? What is your goal for actually prompting? What is the reason? What is your objective of why you are prompting the system? So that's going to be a big piece to it. The other one is going to be the context. What is going to be the information that what is the task basically that you're asking Copilot to do for you? So what are you trying to get out of it? And then if there's a source that you want Copilot to use to actually get the information from, we need to provide it the source. And then the expectations, because we know what we're expecting, but Copilot doesn't. We're expecting and assuming that it's going to give us this information back. Well, it doesn't know to give us specific detail if we don't ask for it. So we need to make sure that we put in what our expectation is, our criteria for the result. Criteria is very important. We do criteria in a lot of different things. I use criteria every day in formulas. If I'm doing an if formula, I'm putting in my criteria of what I want for the answer. We need to do those same things when we are using prompts in Copilot. So always keep these 4 things in mind and read your prompt back and see if it's covering the areas that it truly needs to cover to get that better response. So there's a lot of different prompting techniques that you're going to see people use. Um, there isn't a perfect, this is going to be exactly how you should do things, but I wanted to give you an outline or kind of an example, I should say, related to that 4 areas. So the example that I have is draft an outline of a training manual about time management. The audience consists of professionals who work in a hybrid environment and consistently need to attend virtual meetings and meet deadlines. The tone of the document should be formal and suggestive. So if we break apart what that says, you can see on the right-hand side, the prompt includes what the goal is. The goal is draft an outline of a training manual about time management. The context is the audience consists of professionals who work in a hybrid situation. So we're giving them the information as to who are going to be needing it. We also have the expectation coming back out as well. So each of these are being met. So if we don't need one of them, of course, we can leave it out. But in general, you want to be stepping back and saying, am I giving it enough information for it to give me the response I want? Because if we don't, the alternative to that is it's going to give you a response, but it might give you a response that is 20 pages long and you only wanted 3 items. We didn't tell it to give us 3 items. So we need to make sure that we're providing it with enough information. So I've got a couple of tips that I want to talk about. These are standard tips that you're going to find if you look this up on the internet or even ask Copilot about it. But tips to help you write better prompts. Define the goal, provide the context, use clear and concise language. Don't say a lot of ums, then. There's certain kind of key words that you want to kind of leave out. If you've ever recorded yourself, which of course I'm being recorded every day, I need to go back and start paying more attention to, and I use tools in PowerPoint to kind of do practicing because it's got coaching capabilities, and it can let me know if I'm saying certain words too often that I shouldn't be saying. And we want to think about those same things with prompting because it's not necessary. We don't want to confuse the system with what we're really trying to get out of it. So sometimes less is more when it comes to some verbiage, but include examples. I want something like this and give them an example. Or you could even do the other side of that and say, but don't include this. I don't want this to be a part of it, or whatever your case might be. Reiterate and refine. Sometimes the way we first say it, and I catch myself doing this all the time, I get a terrible result or I don't get the result I wanted. I'm going to go back and say it differently. I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to say it differently. Now, I said the word say it. I use the microphone a lot. So if you see a microphone when you're in Copilot, you could talk directly with it. So just so you know, you could do that. So I like talking to it because I'm not a big typer. I don't really care for typing. Do I type in Copilot? Absolutely, but not as often as I talk. So sometimes I need to say it a little bit differently. Focus on positive instruction. We want to make sure that we are really giving it the extra effort of the result we want to get back out. Always review and improve the way you're doing things. Use natural language. We want to level in built-in prompts. We're definitely going to be talking about built-in prompts because sometimes we're prompting when we could have clicked and it would have done things for us. So we definitely want to take advantage of the tools that Copilot now gives us, and you'll be surprised at all of the choices. There's some changes that just came out within the past week or so that I want to show you today as well. And we want to know the limits. We don't want to expect a response from Copilot when it's not capable of doing it. So we do need to understand what the limitations of the application is. So we'll talk about a few of those limitations. But keep in mind, it's not always super fast. It's faster than it was when it first came out, but sometimes there might be a little bit of a hesitation when you're asking it to do something. Be patient. It is amazing what you're getting out of it based on what we're asking it to do. So sometimes we just need to be patient. I usually tell myself, sit on your hands because we otherwise sometimes get a little clicky and we think it's not doing something when it really is. It has sped up, like I said, and I do know that in the future they are improving the actual large language model that it's reading through. They're improving how it's generating that information back. So it definitely will continue to improve. And of course, this is a Microsoft app. So it is going to have changes on a very regular basis. So Just keep that in the back of your mind. So, and as a matter of fact, yesterday I was in Copilot and all of a sudden I saw something new. It's like, oh my gosh, when did that come? So kind of watch for those and check them out when you see them. If you have a minute, go to the new icon, click on the new thing, whatever it might be, to see what it is that you can now take advantage, because there's a reason they put it in there. It's usually based on feedback. Now I'll talk about feedback again towards the end of the session, but let's take an example of a good prompt, a better option, or the best prompt that you could do based on an example of draft an email about our new app. That's pretty generic. So if we were going to type that in, whether it's in Outlook or it's in just Copilot app, this is a very common thing that I do. I want to draft an email that is going to have information about something. Well, that's pretty generic. Draft an email about our new app. What's our new app? So draft an email introducing our new app to our customers. That's a little bit better. We're giving it more context to it. But really the best way we should be prompting this is draft an email detailing our new app features launching next week. Include a link to the product page. Now, of course, we would want to tell it what that new app is. It's not going to just guess unless we're having it refer to a file. And I don't think enough people do that. I don't think enough people take advantage of what Copilot really can do. So when we're prompting, we have the capability of saying, refer to this file when you're writing this. So it can analyze a file, even if we don't have the file open, it can analyze the file. And then it can really understand what it is that we're trying to get out of it. And so you might need to give it more than what you expect. I've had people come back and say, well, it should understand. It should know. Isn't it smart enough to do that? It's smart. It is extremely smart. It's scary smart. But how can we expect it to? It's not human. Although it gives us a human-like response, it's not human. So we can't expect it to know certain things. So it has to be given enough information. So enough about that for right now. Let's talk about the limitations before we get into a few examples. So a couple of limitations just so that you're aware of a few things. Generating summaries, because a lot of things are based on a summary. So if I open up a Word document and I want Copilot to summarize it, you can see based on here it does a maximum of 20,000 words. I have some because I write courseware and I actually write actual books. I can have a Word document that has 40,000 words, etc. So we have to, if you had that situation, you would actually have to break it down into separate groups because it has that limit as of today. So a lot of things are as of today. Copilot doesn't save your conversations with it, just so you know. So you won't be able to make references to previous interactions and will have to start a new one every single time. So it's not going to remember what you did 2 weeks ago when I was talking about this specific thing. It doesn't always remember all of that. So you'll have to start again. So since Copilot uses the OpenAI's GPT, some generated content may be inaccurate. So very important to read that again. Some generated content may be inaccurate. So we always want to review the responses that we get to make sure that they are accurate, especially if you're going to be publicizing it. Okay, always double check it. Copilot currently doesn't save any of your interaction history. So when it comes to kind of the security side of things, the rule of thumb is never enter confidential information. That's always going to be your rule of thumb. But really, Copilot forgets what we're doing. So when Copilot does something with you, it releases it out of its memory. Not all of them do that, just so you know. ChatGPT keeps things in memory, just so you keep that in the back of your mind. But anyway, let's go ahead and we'll come back to these upcoming events here, but I want to go ahead and get into some of our applications and really start talking about what can Copilot actually do for us. How are we going to use this program? I really want to kind of start in the Copilot app. Now, how do we get to the Copilot app? Well, one way that we can get to the Copilot app is by going to the internet. So sorry, let me slide that over here. I thought I already had it here. So one way is I can go to my Microsoft account online and I can simply click on the icon Copilot, which by the way, I use Copilot on my phone as well. I don't know if you guys are doing that yet, but if you haven't, give that a try because I'm not always on my computer. I'm not on my laptop. I don't always have it with. And it's amazing how many times I have opened up Copilot when I'm standing in the grocery store line and I hear somebody talking about something. And if I hear the word AI, my ears perk up and I'm always, oh, what are they saying about it? And if I can get in the conversation, I'm going to get in the conversation with them. So yes, I'm that person that does that. But anyway, just so you know, Copilot is available on your phone as an app as well, built into your Teams and things like that. But anyway, what do you get when you come in? The first thing to understand when you come into Copilot's app is it's already ready to help you with prompts. We don't have to work very hard. So what it's giving us here is showing you its functionality by some prompts that are related to working with all of your 365 apps. So to me, this blows me away that it can do this. Don't get this with the free version. You get this only with the paid for version, but you can see that it says get calendar information. When's my next meeting with whoever that person is? So if I actually click on that, it fulfills the information down at the bottom. The prompt helps you to build the rest of it because we started with a suggested prompt. It wants you to continue answering the question. The slash is the menu to bring this window up. Well, it knew that I wanted to do it based on a person. So I'm going to say, when's my next meeting with student 1? All I have to do then is click the go button, the paper airplane at the bottom right corner, or press enter, and it's going to automatically analyze both of our calendars to see when we have an upcoming meeting. I actually moved to the meeting. I put it at the wrong time. I knew it was going to come back with nothing because I don't have any upcoming meetings with that person. But if it gave me a meeting that was coming up, I could actually click on it directly here in Copilot to go to the details of the meeting. Unbelievable what we can do with this. So let the computer do the work. We don't always have to manually be typing in prompts. And we learn about which prompts we can actually do by taking advantage of the ones that we are getting on the screen by default. So let me say that I want to do, and by the way, let me back up a second. Because I was prompting about an email with that coworker of mine, student 1, notice at the very bottom it's got additional prompts. So I don't even have to think about what else might I want to ask it. When was my last meeting with student 1? Do I need to know, show my upcoming meetings, all of them? Not just student 1, but do I want to see all of my upcoming meetings? Or I can summarize recent meetings, or I should say emails, with student 1. So always look at what else is it giving you. We don't have to type all that in. It says, hey, here's some other things that you're probably going to want to know about. So I'm going to say, when was my last meeting with student 1? So if this was a customer of mine, I don't have an upcoming meeting. So when was my last one? Because maybe I need to get something scheduled with that particular customer of mine. I use this stuff all the time. I am actually in Copilot all day long. Seriously, I'm in Teams, I'm in Outlook, and I'm in Copilot. Those are my 3 go-to applications. It is surprising. When Copilot first came out, I thought, oh, yeah, this is cute. It goes way beyond the word cute. This is amazing what this is doing. And the prompts that it's giving us are based on feedback. based on what people are asking the system for. What do we want to get out of it? Why can't we have a suggested prompt for this? Because I'm using it all the time. So the more we tell Microsoft about how things work good or don't work good, suggestions that we have, the more likely they're going to integrate those into the application. So you can see that my last meeting with student one was today, 11:30 to 10:30 to 11 a.m. The meeting was called this. Notice it's giving me a hyperlink. Look at the hyperlink. When I hesitate on the name of that meeting, topics of the week shows me the details of it, and it says draft a meeting summary, key takeaways, and ask about this. It's giving me prompts with thinking, what does a person need to know about a meeting that they just had? So if I click draft a meeting summary, it will go out and look for the information based on that meeting and draft a summary for me. So I'm going to click the go button. So that's one of the things that, well, I understand why it does it, but at first it bothered me because, okay, the stuff is in the chat window. Why isn't it just generating it? We have to tell it we're done because we could be adding additional details to that. But just so you know, it does that. And then I'm just going to click go. So it's automatically analyzing that meeting and going to come back with that. And I'm not even in the meeting. I'm not in Teams. I'm not anywhere. I'm doing it right here through the Copilot app. Now you're starting to see why I say I'm in it all day long. I get so excited about this. Sorry. I'm getting the shivers because this is truly saving me so much time in the day. It's amazing how much time. If I sat and added up all the time that I'm saving, it's unbelievable. Even 15 minutes to me is a lot of time. But you can see, sure, here's the draft of the notes of the topics of this week's meeting. Here's the key takeaways. Here's the discussions. Jolene and here's the action items. Jolene to schedule a follow-up session to demonstrate advanced features of Excel, etc. So it's automatically giving me that summary right here. I can, of course, copy that. And if I needed to share it with anybody else, or I wanted to really do a recap in a document because it's a project we're working on and I want to have them all in one central area, I could put it wherever I need it to be, in OneNote, wherever. So anyway, I just think that that is super great. So down at the bottom, you can see that it now gives me more prompts related to that. So do I want to set a reminder for a follow-up session? Can you add more detail to the key takeaways? It's like unbelievable. It's reading our minds. Seriously, I swear it's reading my mind because half the things that show up at the bottom are things I want to ask next anyway, but we don't have to type them in. So the days of us needing to do a lot of typing in Copilot are dwindling because it's really being built to say, well, here's what people normally would do after that. So it's very smart. Now I'm just going to start a new chat, and that's one of the things about making sure that your prompts will be good prompts is if I'm going to switch gears and do a brand new topic, I don't want to continue the conversation here. If I'm going to have a brand new topic, I'm going to do new chat at the top right. So once again, we see those prompts at the top of the screen. So I can plan for that meeting. Help me prepare for a meeting, get the gist of the bulleted key list, don't miss out on something. It can summarize Teams messages. I'm not even in Teams, but it can summarize messages where I was at mentioned this week. So a lot of things are date related. I can be asking it, and let me actually do that because it's not on the list here, but down at the bottom, what if I want to get a summary? Give me a summary of communications with, and I'm going to do a slash. So I'm saying, give me a summary of communications with, I put in the slash and I'm prompted, so I don't have to type it all. I'm prompted with the more common tools. So it can be based on people. It can be based on a file. So if I wanted to analyze a file, it can be based on a meeting. So it can be based on any of these meetings that show up, or it can be based on emails. So I want it to be based on people. So I'm going to go back to people and I'm going to choose student one. I'm going to click generate, click send, and it's going to automatically analyze what's been going on with communications with student one. And it doesn't just look at one application, it looks at multiples. So you can see it's breaking it apart based on emails, based on Teams messages, and based on meetings. And it's even saying if you need more detail or other things, you can actually do these links down below. And it's even coming up with some prompts down at the bottom. So take advantage of what is being displayed on the screen. You don't have to work as hard at prompting as you might think. Yes, if you're going to physically type, you need to really think about it. Or what if the prompt isn't giving the full information that you want? You want the answer to be more detailed. Then that's why it doesn't automatically just generate the response when we click on the prompt. We have to give it more detail. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. But let's jump down to the bottom. I want to go down to the bottom of the right-hand side of this window and where it says View Prompts. When you click on View Prompts, it's going to take you into the Copilot Lab. The Copilot Lab is where you can find lots of different prompt suggestions. So this is where we can go to learn what can it actually do. To me, this is highly recommended to everyone to spend some time in here because we don't know for sure what we could ask it. What are the things I should be focusing on? So you can see right now I'm on saved. There's an option at the top for saved prompts because technically I could save them. And I've got a little icon down here at the bottom right of each of these little rectangles here. That's how I could save it, and then I could go to saved prompts. So if I have ones that I'm using regularly, by the way, this is relatively new feature for that save prompts. Otherwise, I have categories. So these are task related. So track your tasks. What are things that should be on my radar from emails last week? We could have things like that. But if I go to this drop down up at the top, I can go into different categories like catch up, learn, create, or ask. So that's a great way to be able to learn what Copilot can do. Now, by the way, this changes. They keep adding more to it. So it isn't something that you're going to go in today and then never come back to it again. It's something that you should visit on a regular basis. Okay, because we only get so many 6 on the screen when we first come in, which they do rotate out. It kind of feels to me like it rotates out every few days. I'm not quite sure what the true answer to that is, to be honest, but just so you could see that. So anyway, these are the ones that we get by default. So if I scroll down on this list, look at all these different options. Help me write, so it can help me write something. Prepare for that meeting. As a matter of fact, I use this regularly. If I have a meeting coming up, I'm going to click prepare for that meeting. And then when I do that slash, it brings up meetings and I can choose which meeting I want it to help me prepare for. I mean, can't get any easier than that. So anyway, as I'm scrolling down, you can see all these different options, but there's more. Sounds like a commercial. At the bottom right, we can go in to see all prompts, and that's going to take you to a website. In this website, you're going to see that there are hundreds of different prompt suggestions that we can be using through Copilot. So anyway, you can see that it's got the saved prompts, it's got the app. So if I'm looking for something that is specifically related to Stream, to Microsoft Planner, to Excel, I can actually narrow down the suggestions to that app. And then it has the different categories. So it has the categories based on the app. And then it also has job type. This is actually pretty cool. I've used this for finance recently. I was doing an Excel class for CFOs and leaders, and I actually used this to, let me click on it and show you. So it shows you things that are directly related to finance. So draft a risk assessment report, create a meeting, notes for financial standards. Everything is going to be directly related. So the days of me physically writing, like I said, are really dwindling because this helps me to go beyond what my thought process could be as to what it is I should be looking up in Copilot. So Let it do the work for you. Okay, so just so you could see, if I wanted to use any of these, or if I wanted to go to a different app, if I go into Excel, I'm still on finance, and it's going to give me quick tips for better prompting. If I go back and I uncheck finance, it will come back and show me things related specifically to Excel. So I can compare two files, I can spot trends, I can extract information. So I use that all the time because, yes, we have some built-in tools to do it, but why do I have to work so hard? Just let Copilot do it. I could split text apart or combine the information together. I am using Copilot in Excel all the time because sometimes I may not know what formula I want to use. So it can help me to do that. But anyway, just so you're seeing all these options, a lot of these will have more that it doesn't display on the screen. So if you keep seeing that show more, of course, go into those. And like I said, this will always be expanding. And notice at the bottom, it's giving you what are Copilot prompts? What can I get done with Copilot prompts? So it's giving you that further information about it as well. So highly recommend using the Copilot Lab. So just so you keep in mind, what we're talking about right now is part of the Copilot Lab. Now, I'm not really going to use any of these. I'm going to close the Copilot Lab, which was that tab at the top, and I'm going to come back into my Copilot again. And I'm going to actually scroll up. Well, I'm going to do one more thing here. In this app. On the right-hand side, when I'm in the Copilot app, I clicked on the ... menu. And what it's giving me from here is Copilot Chats. If you click Copilot Chats, it's going to take you back into a window showing you the history of the chats that you have done in Copilot. So if I want to go back to, here, what are the best inkjet printers that have this capability or whatever I chatted about, I can jump back to those previous chats, just so you know. Also, I'm going to go back to I'm going to close this chat history on the right-hand side and go back to the menu one more time. Send feedback. Sending feedback is a very important part for all of us to be contributing to let Microsoft know what's been good and what's not been so good with an application. So a lot of places you're going to find send feedback. So just so you know, this is where it's located at here in Copilot. So enough about the app for right now. I want to go into a couple of the applications, especially some of the applications that I'm using on a very regular basis, and just do some examples of other ways that you can actually be working with Copilot. So one of the things is, you know what, before I leave the app, well, I can do this and never mind, I'll do images, but I'll do it in a different app. But let me jump into Excel real quick. Excel is a very common place to be using Copilot. When we first got Copilot, you had to have your information in a table for it to be analyzed, but we don't have to anymore. It depends on the range of data. If you're on a range that has a clearly defined header, top row is the headings, you don't have to have it in a table. But it does give you some extra benefits, because if I wanted to analyze this information, I'm going to go to the Copilot icon. It opens on the right-hand side. It's going to analyze the data within the range of your active cell. So it's telling me down at the bottom, ask a question or tell me what you'd like to do with A1 through J1465. So it knows my range of data. So that's when you know it's understanding what you're working with. So use the prompts it comes with. Get familiar with those before you manually type things in. So first off, create a formula. It can actually suggest a formula column. It can also summarize using pivot tables or charts, can analyze your data, apply color and formatting, and ask Copilot, how do I sum values based on whatever your criteria is? So we can physically be prompting it to do whatever it is that we want it to do. But take advantage of what it's giving you by default. So it's actually telling us what we could be doing. And if you have previously done chatting, notice that it has chat history. And down at the bottom, it has additional options, show data insight, show a suggestion for a formula column, and showing conditional formatting. So you always want to look at what are all of your choices there. So I'm going to say I want to apply color and formatting. So when I do that, it comes back with the starting of the prompt. It's sometimes important to start your prompt correctly. Sometimes I don't type it in the way that the system's going to understand it, and it comes back and tells me I don't understand what you're asking. So it will give you sometimes suggestions of how to get started with it. So here it starts it. So it says highlight all cells with, and I'm going to say USA as the country in a green font color. So when I think about what it is that I just wrote in, and yes, it does have spell check, and you always want to make sure that things are spelled correctly. That was actually a grammar error, but you want to make sure things are spelled correctly, because if you're prompting it with the wrong word, you're not going to get the right result either. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the send button, the generate button, and it will automatically start analyzing the data. And that's where sometimes your patience is going to come in, and it's going to automatically apply the green font color that I told it to do based on USA entries in the country. You have to make sure that you're spelling your criteria correctly, because otherwise it can come back and say that I don't know what you're talking about, that kind of a thing. So just so you can see what it's going to prompt you with. So right away it says, I'm sorry, something went wrong when I was trying to highlight those cells. So let me come back and ask it a different way. So I'm just going to talk to it. I'm going to click the microphone button down at the bottom. Please format the country column if it says USA in a green font color. Sometimes it's about rewording, reiterating what it is that we want it to do. So it's coming back, and it's actually, I can tell that it's working because it's showing me the details. And it's asking me, it's not just doing it. What it's going to do first, which I really like this is an update. It's going to actually show you what it did, because sometimes it doesn't do what we thought it was going to do. So this way we're confirming it. Yes, that's what I wanted, so I want it to apply it. So now it applied it, but I can't see the results. So I want to filter. Sorry, it's applying the changes, and I can't see any USA in the country column. So could you please filter by country, USA and Canada? I'm being a little formal. Didn't mean to do that. I don't usually say, could you please? I would just say, this is what I want. But it's okay if you're a little formal with the way that you're asking things, but it's actually saying, okay, I'll apply a filter to based on column B. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to see that. So here's, you could see the USA results. They're all coming in as green. So we could tell it to remove formatting. There's a lot of different things we could continue to do. But the key to this is read the prompts that you get when you come into that application. I do the same thing in Microsoft Word. So if I go to a Word document and I have the document already open, it's something that I had already created, I can come into Copilot and it's going to analyze my document. And this is where you have to be a little careful with the number of words you have. I can see right now, this is only a 24-page document, but down on my status bar at the bottom left, I can see I have 8,327 words in this 24-page document. 20,000 was our limit. So basically what it's giving you for prompts is summarize this document in 3 key points. Ask, how can I more concisely describe the topic of time management, because this is communication and time management. Otherwise, down at the bottom, I have other prompts that I could also do. Summarize this document is something I do on a regular basis. And then, is there a call to action? It can actually look through the document and see if anywhere in the document there is a call to action we should be aware of. Because what if this is a document somebody else created? But what I do is I summarize the document quite often. So I'm just going to click summarize this document, and it automatically starts to analyze the document. And it's going to come back with a summary. But wow, look at all that summary it's giving me. Yes, this is 24 pages, but that's a little bit much. You can see that it prompted me again, just like in the app. It's asking me, make the summary more formal or make the summary more casual. What if I want it to be shorter? Make the summary shorter, only 3 bullet points. So I'm going to be a little bit more precise on exactly what it is that I want to do. So sometimes we're not giving it enough. Sometimes I'll just let it go ahead and do its thing. And then if I don't like it, I want it to change it, and I'll re-prompt to get those changes. So now it came back and it summarized it with only 3 bullet points. Because, oh, and another thing with this too is I might need it to put it in a paragraph, a short paragraph format, somewhat casual for the students that would be attending this class or whatever the case might be. Make sure that you're giving it the full information of what it is that you're wanting it to do. So once again, I most likely would click on my microphone. Create a short paragraph that can be used for advertising a communication and time management class based on this document. So I wanted it to know that I was going to use it for advertising. So if I have a flyer that I've created and I need to summarize that flyer, because that flyer is going to be put in all kinds of places, whatever, and I just want a summary for it, it will automatically generate a summary for you. So I really like that. A lot of times I will copy it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And then I could go to a new document. I could go into a place within this document, and I could paste that information and continue to keep using Copilot to work with, just like you normally would use Copilot. If I have text, I can select that text, and then I can use Copilot to help me rewrite it and different things like that. So of course, those are built in as well. But take advantage of what comes in the prompt window. But let's go to another application. I'll go ahead and say, yes, I want to keep this. I'm going to go ahead and click replace. So just so you can see, it can do that. It was actually using a different language there, but that's okay. So let me go to a PowerPoint presentation, because understanding prompts in PowerPoint can be very, very important as well. And I do use Copilot a lot with I use Copilot a lot with PowerPoint. So I'm going to open Copilot by going to my home tab of the ribbon. It's going to analyze my current presentation, which, by the way, I forgot to point out that Copilot is located at the top left of the slide as soon as you come in. So I could have technically clicked on it from there as well. But what it's going to give you for prompts automatically is going to be create a presentation from a file. So if you want to actually create a brand new presentation and you started documenting it in a Word document or whatever, you could do that. Or I could say summarize this presentation, because once again, people are going to be coming to this meeting. And the meeting is going to be about project management fundamentals. So we created the presentation, but now we need to get a little summary about it so that we can let people know that if they attend the meeting, here's what's going to be covered. We also have organized this presentation. And I was surprised how well this could work, because it's going to look at your slides, which I have a lot of slides. I have 162 slides in this presentation. So I'm not going to do the organize, but I got to tell you, that's actually a great tool, because we sometimes forget that, oh yeah, we put this slide way down here that was related to the information up here. We sometimes forget that because it's not a Word document. We're not using heading 1s, 2, and 3s, and we can't see that unless we're in outline view. So just let the computer help you. Use the prompts it comes with, or like you saw in the Copilot app, it even had prompts that we could use directly through there about Copilot in PowerPoint. But let me use one of these. The one that I use all the time is summarize this presentation. So I'm going to let the computer do that work without me typing in what I want to be prompting the computer. But I am going to do another prompt here. After I get done with the summarization, I usually use an image in PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, or I just needed to generate an image on its own because I want to use it for whatever purposes. But just so you can see, it came back with a summary. Now, of course, if I wanted it to make it shorter, put it in paragraph format, whatever else, I could continue to put that into the prompt. Keep in mind, you want to give it the exact details that you really want it. You know, tell the system what it's going to be used for. I need to generate an email to let people know what this meeting is going to be about. So we could be prompting it with that type of detail. But I'm actually going to do something else. Insert a new slide that will give information about our company. So I'm telling it that I wanted to insert a new slide to give information about our company. Now, I didn't say who our company was or anything. I left it very generic. Now, I didn't say what information I wanted to give about our company. So how does it know? How is it going to know to give me what I'm thinking? I'm assuming it's going to give me information, but how can it? It doesn't know who we are. So that's that non-human type. It didn't know who my company was, but what it did give us is generic placeholders. Here's some suggestions of what you might put in about your company. Company name, what do, your mission, your team, and your history about your company. So unless we provide it with the right information, can't get it out. So prompting is going to definitely help with that. But I'm going to prompt it again, because I'm going to say that I want it to generate an image. Now, if I just say, let me start it out this way, because this is where sometimes we don't do good prompting. Create an image on this slide that will show our mission statement. So let me just send that and see what it comes back with. How does it know what our mission statement is? It has no idea what our mission statement is. Could I have told it our mission statement? You know, to have fun and be bad, you know, whatever your mission statement is, it doesn't know that. So what it did was, okay, here you go. An image showing our mission statement has been added to your slide. Well, it added this image of pencil and paper because it really just said, okay, well, you're doing a topic of project management fundamentals. Well, maybe you're going to be putting together a task list. So it generates the image that way. Not at all what I want. So I'm going to select that image and delete it. If we prompt it with the appropriate information, it will give us the right result. So let me think about this a second on what I want to tell it. Create a caricature image of a gentleman sitting on a bench by a lake wearing a red hat and has an umbrella on the bench next to him. I don't know where that came from in my head, but anyway, let's see what it comes back with. So the more detail you give it, the more accurate it's actually going to be. Now let me just, oops, sorry. Let me move. I'm just going to cut this and put it on a brand new layout here. Oops, I meant to do a new slide. My fault. I just wanted you to see how this could work. So here's that image. Now, it isn't a person sitting, did I say man? I can't remember what I told it now. With a gentleman sitting by a lake with a red hat. I didn't say sitting on the bench, you know, so it actually did what I told it. Change the image to be a man sitting on the bench with the umbrella next to him. So we can refine the image. You can even bring in your own image and have it refine your image. So just so you know, it didn't understand what I wanted it to do, but you can see how sometimes we need to reprompt, but the more you start with an appropriate prompt, the better off you're actually going to be. So start out where you're giving the information based on what it is you really needed to get out of it. And lastly, I want to quickly talk about Outlook, because of course, Outlook has Copilot as well. As a matter of fact, Copilot is an icon on the left-hand side. So when you're in Outlook, you can simply open the Copilot app directly from here. It's going to open it here in Outlook. So just like clicking on your calendar, clicking on your to-do list, whatever, you can be opening up Copilot directly from there. We also can, of course, summarize information or have it help us write things, but otherwise there hasn't been a lot of improvements. It does do a summarization, but it really shines when you create a new email. When you create a new email, it will help you to write it, but otherwise it doesn't have any other prompting things except for giving it more detail when you go to say, I want to write an email to a new customer to welcome them to our manufacturing company, blah, blah, blah. You want to give it as much detail there as you possibly can. But Teams is going to be a big one as well, because if you are using Microsoft Teams and you record the meeting, it will give you a recap. So I'm going to go into a meeting I did this morning. It will give you the option to create a recap about the meeting if you used transcriptions and recordings. So it automatically can create recaps of your actual meeting. I don't know why mine didn't come up. I'm going to pop into Copilot here, but we would be able to go back and ask. So we could use Copilot during the meeting. We can use it before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. During the meeting, oh, Copilot wasn't available. I thought I did it with Copilot. Sorry, I wanted to use this as an example. But I would be able to come back and say, who was the person that asked this question during the meeting? So that maybe I want to do a follow-up. Or I can say, were there any action items that we should add to a to-do list? Did this person attend? Yes, I could go to the attendance list and see, but this way I could see what time did this person join the meeting? During the meeting, someone could ask, what did I miss? So if I was gone and I didn't attend the meeting right away, I came in 10 minutes later, we can actually be asking Copilot to catch them up with what was said prior to them joining the meeting. So Copilot is going to be a big tool to be using within Microsoft Teams. I use it almost every day because if I'm the person that's doing the meeting, I want to take advantage of having Copilot to be able to analyze the meeting and even write meeting notes for me afterwards. So it can do a summary of the meeting and give you the notes directly from that summary. Now, of course, we do have Loop available. If you do an agenda at the bottom of the Teams meeting, you can be using a Loop component and manually add things to it, but Copilot can do it automatically. So you definitely want to be taking advantage of that. When you see the handout, you'll see that there's some suggested prompts that you can be using to kind of analyze what happened during that meeting. I'm so sorry that this is not what I wanted it to give me. I was thinking that it was going to give me my actual meeting there, but that's okay. I guess I'll have to live with that. But just so you can see, this is something that you want to practice prompting. It isn't something that everybody is going to be really good at it right away. It is something that you do need to really kind of focus on those 4 contents and say, I want to make sure that I have the right detail as to what needs to be included with this specific prompt that I'm giving the computer. So sorry, I closed this by accident, so I'm just reopening this again. Because Alan, do you want to talk about what we have coming up?
Yeah, we actually have a couple questions, Jolene.
Oh, good,
If you
good.
have a couple minutes here. So One of them I think you almost answered. So the first one here, which this question you did not answer. So Stephen asks, in the web version of Office, why does it sometimes say things like 1 of 30 responses at the bottom of the response?
So it sometimes, depending on what it is you're asking it, and it does that in desktop as well, not just in the online version, because it can actually give you multiple choices. So when it is analyzing the web for the answer you're prompting it for, it can have 30 different responses that it went out and found when it searched the internet. It could have 30 different sites that it could have gotten the information from. So it does that in desktop and in the online version. Yeah.
All right, and then one more question here, and I love this question. It's from Patty, and it says, "Can you create a summary for this webinar so I can share it with management?"
That would be on your guys' end because you're recording it. Did you have the
Yep,
transcripts on too?
I think we did. Yeah, I'll get with Kat on that.
So the
Patty,
answer is yes.
yeah, Patty, we will reach out and get you that transcript.
That was actually such a great question. I wish we had a prize for her.
Yeah, right. We should do that. We should have prizes, right?
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
idea.
Awesome. This is really great, Jolene. I know Sourcepass, I think everybody now has a Copilot license, so we're digging in pretty deep with Copilot. We're a very big Microsoft partner, so this was super, super useful. So thank you so much. Just to give you everybody a little heads up on what's coming up, September 25th, we've got Digital Transformation Series webinar, IT Budgeting for 2025. So this is really timely if you're involved at all in trying to see what the future is going to look like for your organization, if you're going to implement Copilot next year, and how do you budget for that. This is a great kind of foundational webinar that gives you an idea of how to go about doing that. And we have a whole team of VCIOs and strategic experts that do that. So they're going to be sharing some of their knowledge and wisdom with you the 25th of September. And then Jolene, we'll be back here on October 9th, digging into Outlook, not quite as new a tool as Copilot, but nevertheless something we use every day. And I always find that sometimes those are the most well-attended webinars that we do, the stuff that's tried and true, and it's part of our everyday work. So,
well, and really understanding, Alan, that new Copilot versus our classic Copilot. So really understanding that.
Right, right.
So thanks.
So I think until then, that'll do it for us. And if I'm sorry, one more slide. If you do have any questions about Copilot, you can reach out to us. If you know who your CSM is, you can reach out to them. If you're really not sure who to reach out to, just ping us at events@sourcepass.com and we'll connect you with the right person. And Patty, we'll be connecting with you with your transcript. And until next time, everybody. Thanks, Jolene.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.